So, if you thought I was going to come in here all upset about my Philadelphia Eagles losing to the Seattle Seahawks, you would be right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cheerleaders, welcome back into Week 15 recap of the 2023 NFL season. This is your host, the executive producer, the founder of Brandon's World, Brandon Lewis. We're going to do something a little bit differently today. I'm not going to go through all of the Week 15 NFL games. There are so many storylines to cover. Instead, I'm going to take this more from a storyline perspective as we have so many games that, of course, have playoff implications. Now, as you didn't know, this coming Friday, Brandon's World, our Merry Christmas special will be live at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. During that special, I will be going over my predictions for the 2023 NFL Awards, my predictions for the WWE Slammy Awards, my 2024 predictions in sports. Plus, we'll be playing your favorite game, Fair or Foul, with my man Jalen Sandvik, and I will interview my guy Michael Reiner. We will talk all things NFL. He's a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan, as well as professional wrestling. Once again, we are in collaboration with the Brands World Podcast with the one and only Voltage Live. Tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, me and my partner Josh Unger over at Championship Rings will be debating all things sports. And I'm sure Josh Unger is going to let me hear it when it comes to my Philadelphia Eagles. So again, I'm not going to be going over every single game this week in the Week 15 NFL recap. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter podcast. I'm thinking like 10 to 15 minutes. And the reason is just because of all of these storylines involved with the AFC and the NFC wildcard picture. I want to be able to articulate my thoughts clearly. But I will go over my best bets and where I was wrong in the money line. Where I was wrong in the money line was I did pick Pittsburgh to defeat Indianapolis. The Steelers have sort of fell from grace, as we know, over the last couple of weeks. Now, I do think this week they bounced back against Cincinnati. They played very well against Jake Browning the last time. Cincinnati will not have Jamar Chase. And the Steelers brand, is 9-8 every single year. I think that every year with a winning record does mean something to Mike Tomlin and the players in that locker room. I think they will come out. I think they know that they were embarrassed their last two games at home. They will play well against Cincinnati this upcoming week. I also did miss as well Tennessee over Houston. I did have that in my best bets. I had Tennessee -2.5. It was looking really good. Then Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans decided to blow a 13-0 lead and not move the ball at all in the second half. That was the only best bet I missed. I also as well, by the way, missed Jacksonville over Baltimore. I thought the Ravens just flat out dominated that game, and I do think the Ravens are the best team right now in the AFC. I think they're still right up there, with Baltimore, Kansas City, Miami, Buffalo, Philly, San Francisco, Dallas, maybe Detroit. They obviously blew the doors off Denver 45-17. I think there's about 7 or 8 teams in this league that have really separated from everybody else. Now, one team that has not separated at all, of course, is the Los Angeles Chargers. They fired Brandon Staley after being absolutely embarrassed by the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Raiders will be really interesting to see what they do moving forward. We all know that Antonio Pierce has done, I would say, a decent job as the interim head coach. I would not say he's done a great job. I would not say he's done a poor job. But I do know the players in that locker room do respect him. It'll be very fascinating to see what the Raiders' decision is. For the LA Chargers, we know they are very top heavy, but the top heavy guys they do have on their roster: Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams when he gets back and healthy, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James. This, even in a tough division we're doing with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs, what Sean Payton has done this year with Russell Wilson. This is a ready to be made to win roster. I'm very fascinated to see if a guy like Bill Belichick who it just seems like his days in New England are numbered if he decides to come over for the Los Angeles Chargers. Um, the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans picked up two big wins. Obviously, we already mentioned Houston defeating Tennessee, Indy the big win over Pittsburgh, with with Jacksonville's loss to Baltimore. It now sets up a three-way tie in the AFC South between those three teams. Doug Peterson, offensive head coach. Shane Steichen, offensive head coach. D'Amico Ryans, defensive head coach. But really being led well with this Houston Texans ball club. I will tend to lean towards the experience of Jacksonville. I think the loss of Christian Kirk is a big loss, but I do think that they will be able to overcome it. I think the Jags should still be the favorite in that division. The AFC to me is very fascinating because we have Miami, we have Buffalo, who's just red hot after getting the tail out of the Dallas Cowboys. You have the Kansas City Chiefs. You have the Jags, you have the Colts, you have the Browns, who had that incredible come from behind victory with Joe Flacco against Justin Fields. Chicago is going to be a very fascinating team this offseason to see what they do with Justin Fields. I've said numerous times, if I was the Bears, I would move off Justin Fields. I would move off Matt Eberflus. I would go get Caleb Williams. We'll see what they indeed decide to do. What about Baker Mayfield and that story in the NFC down in Tampa? Tampa Bay able to crush Green Bay. And, Baker Mayfield, and I said this about the Bucs going into the year, they were one of the hardest teams to predict. Not only because they were in a division that I thought was absolutely terrible. I did not buy Derek Carr and the Saints. And even though they crushed, Tommy DeVito and yes, Tyrod Taylor had to come in there for a few plays. Excuse me. Excuse me. Even though the Saints did crush the Giants, they're not looking very good. Atlanta, I called them losing to Carolina. I did bet Carolina +3 against Atlanta. I did that for a reason because I don't trust Arthur Smith. Now they're going back to Taylor Heineke. And Carolina, I thought they just had more talent than they actually do. Tampa, I thought was a weird team because we know they have Shaq Barrett. We know they have Avante David. We know they have Villa. We know they have those two great receivers in Evans and Godwin. Great now left tackle, former right tackle, interest and worth. Their running back, Rashad White, is a decent running back. The question was always going to be, with a bridge quarterback like Baker Mayfield, do you tank to go get a quarterback to set yourself up, potentially if you hit a Drake May, a Bo Nix, a Michael Penix for the next 10, 15 years into the future? Or with Baker Mayfield and the bridge quarterback, do you even with Todd Bowles, who I think has done a good job at rejuvenizing this group after that treacherous year that Brady and the group went through last season, that Tampa did have a realistic shot to go win this division. And after we said Todd Bowles isn't the coach of the future and Baker Mayfield is not a franchise quarterback, all of a sudden it looks like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could win, and I think will win that NFC South division. Now, the interesting thing here is, again, in best bets, I did pick the Raiders -3 against the Chargers. I did pick Carolina +3 against Atlanta. I picked the Rams to cover the 6.5 against the Commanders. The Commanders looked out coach. We know Ron Rivera is going to be out at the end of the year. I do think if Sean McVay and company get into the postseason the way they are moving the ball offensively, the Rams could be a tough out. And I also picked Buffalo, who I said ever since they made the coordinator change, from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady, they're using James Cook, they're using Dalton Kincaid, they're using running backs and tight ends. Everything is not all on Josh Allen's shoulders. And Buffalo looks like they are getting back to the 2021 form Buffalo Bills, which is a very dangerous team, especially when you consider a team like Kansas City. Yes, they barely covered this week, 9.5 against the New England Patriots, but they cannot get explosive plays this year down the field like they have in years past. So very interesting setup here to the end of the year. Again, Vegas just crunches the Chargers. 63-21. Cincinnati, T. Higgins makes an incredible play. Jake Browning has Cincinnati surviving. They're surviving in that AFC wildcard picture with a big win here over the Vikings. The Viking season is not done yet, even though Nick Mullins is not look great. And obviously, with the Kirk Cousins injury after Josh Dobbs got a couple of key victories. Minnesota has really struggled over the last couple of weeks. If they beat Detroit here both times, 2 times within the next 3 weeks, it is unlikely, but Minnesota has a shot to still win that division. Indianapolis, again, knocking off Pittsburgh 30-13. The Lions crushing Denver 42-17. I already mentioned the Browns, what they have done. Joe Flacco, Justin Fields, they win in 2017. So some very fascinating games this week. We'll see where the playoff picture all goes as we head into week 16. I will make my picks and best bets on Thursday.